going to be a live teaching, which of course is now turning your distractions into traction in 2021. So I don't know about you, this 2020 has just been very distracting. It's very difficult in all the things that was happening around us to stay focused and really to have some kind of perspective. Maybe you had an exhibition that just didn't happen, or that your show was cancelled, or just clients sort of went up in thin air. It was one roller coaster year. But there is a way to turn those distractions into traction. And we're going to just look at that briefly. What does that mean? Traction is all about being pulled towards that what you want to do. That's actually the opposite of distraction. Distraction is being pulled away from what you want to do. And very often we think the opposite of distraction is focus. So many people have told me that too, like, Sonia, just need to focus. You need to get discipline yourself to focus. And then it'll sort of work for 2 weeks, and then it just would not happen anymore. We need to find a place where we can find traction for your art and for your art business. And that's being pulled towards the things that you really want to do. That is traction. And that's my wish and hope for you for 2021, that year will bring you closer and closer to your art dreams, to your art vision. And that only can materialize when you are getting clear about what you actually want to achieve. And that's what we'll be looking at in this session. Finding focus in a time of disruption, designing your perfect week, a growth plan for 2021. So not just any old plan, but a growth plan. How can you see growth? How can you go from where you are now towards the end of next year? Can you see growth in your revenue, in the quality of your work, in your exposure, in how much reach you have? All that is in the growth plan. So that's what we're going to be looking at. And at the end, we'll end off with a Q&A session. So feel free to also, throughout the session, throw your comments, your questions in the group, in the comments, so that we can look at that in the Q&A. There is a fight for your attention. Maybe you've noticed so many things that are calling your attention, that, from the notifications on your phone to people, things that there's so much out there, so much possible also in this digital time, day and age. And if we're not careful, we're so busy with all those things, all those little things keeping us from what we actually want to do. And your attention is worth so much. Your attention is being monetized every second. All those pings, all those devices are made specially to just keep your attention, keep your focus. And that can cost you dearly. If you can only do one thing at a time. And if it's keeping you from making your art, keeping you from moving forward and growing in your art and your creativity, that would be so sad. And I'm not saying devices and all the technology is bad. Contrary to that, I'm so grateful for devices. I'm sitting in front of a few devices now, my camera, my laptop, my iPad. I'm streaming through Facebook. I mean, these are wonderful opportunities to reach and to connect with people. But if things are keeping you from your art dream, that's when you start realizing, okay, you need to make a shift. You need to either turn off notifications, you need to find out why you're being distracted. And that can be many reasons. What is calling for your attention? What is keeping you from making your art? And that can be external triggers, just like having those notifications on. I don't know about you, every time I hear a ping, it's like, whoop, my attention is gone. Or every time I hear, my phone ringing, then my attention is gone. And it just takes so much time to get my attention back. So those are external things, or just people that are calling for your attention. Then you need to set some boundaries, turn off notifications, or just, make clear arrangements within maybe your family setting or wherever you're working. It's like, okay, now it's my time. Now I'm going to focus on my creativity. This is where I'm going to give myself that gift. But very often those triggers are internal. There have been many studies done why people get distracted. And very often it's internal thing. I think we inherently are trying to escape some kind of discomfort, whether it's a discomfort in your creative process. I talk about that in my classes a lot, where you have the creative curve, where you start a project and it's all, you are excited, you really are inspired to get going, and you start along and you are ready to move. And as you move through the creative process, you hit this place. This place is where discouragement comes in. It's where distractions really get you. That's where your phone becomes really interesting, is down here on your creative curve, in your creative process. And this could be like within a few minutes. This could be in a few days. This could be within a creative project. This could be in your creative year. That there will be moments that you hit this point here, whether it's disappointment or rejection or frustration that the techniques aren't working, you can't get that color, it's just not happening the way that you thought it would happen. Those unknowns just seem to bombard you, and then you can exit. You can let those distractions, those things keeping you, you're going to choose distractions because you don't want to feel that discomfort. This is a very discomforting place here. But if you can find a way to move past that slump, to move past that disappointment or past that frustration, and work through the problem, work through, do more color mixing, or find a way to get through it, that you can start going up the creative curve. And this is the finished project. This is where the happiness happens, and not get stuck there, so that you can get wonderfully distracted, because that's that discomfort that you might be feeling. So it's good to get an understanding why you are being distracted. What is keeping you? It might be those external triggers, but maybe those are the internal triggers. So take some time this week just to think through, every time you feel yourself not being pulled towards what you want to do, but being pulled away by those distractions. Why is it? And it's not something that you beat yourself over the head because you're doing, that you're failing. No, it's just good to get an insight, because these are obviously then patterns or something that happens more often. And once you can identify what it is, identify that you are being distracted and why you're being distracted, that's when you can start doing something about it. That's when you can bring it out in the open and start putting systems in place, or putting some structure in place, that you are less distracted, so that you can grow towards your art vision. Finding focus in a time of disruption. Maybe you think 2021 wonderfully disrupted, was we're going towards the end of the year, but it was a year that was really disruptive. But I think we are continually living in a state of disruption. So all these, even if next year's back to normal, we need to identify that there are many things calling for our attention. So you recognize that you're being distracted. That is a crucial step. If you think, oh, I'm just, doing my thing and doesn't matter, then you're going to go all directions. But if you identify that you are, and recognize that you're being distracted, that is a big step. And then what are you being distracted from? A distraction is only a distraction when you know what it's distracting you from. I want to say that again. Distractions are only distractions if you know what you're being distracted from. Are you clear about where you want to go? Are you clear about what you want to do? Are you clear about that body of work that you want to finish? Are you clear about your artistic vision, where you want to be in 2021? Where do you want to be in the next 3 months? Because only then, if you have a clear goal or clear idea of where you're going, that's when you can identify distractions, because it's keeping you from where you want to go. But if you have no idea, it's just vague or really misty, then you're not being distracted. And distractions are really sneaky because you can choose to binge watch a next Netflix series. I mean, you can just say, okay, now it's my time, it's downtime, it's my relaxation time. I'm going to watch a series, or I'm going to, do whatever you want to do for pleasure, take a long walk. Then you've planned that. That's something that you are intentionally doing. So that's not a distraction. It's those things that you're doing because you don't really know where you're going that become distractions and will keep you from moving towards your art vision. And then start identifying those internal and external triggers. Once you start identifying them, you can start doing something about them. And then that schedule, does your schedule reflect your core values? Does it reflect your passions? What's in your schedule, whether it's on a piece of paper or on your phone or just in your head, the choices that you're making, are they bringing you closer to where you want to go? Is it bringing traction in your art and your art career? And it takes some intentional planning and thought to bring you there. It's just not spontaneously going to happen. And I totally get that we're all different. Some of you are more planners, some of you love planning, and some of you are just absolutely allergic to it. And you need to find another way of getting more structure around your art routine, around the things that you're doing, so that you at least are in control of your choices. Because if you are not choosing, someone else will choose for you how you spend your time, your energy, your money, your budget, your creativity. So it's important to, as you go into the new year, adopt systems or adopt some structure that you have more control. And with that control will come freedom, because I coach many artists and then I ask them, well, why are you creating? Why you want to be an artist? Why do you want to be a full-time working artist? And they all say, I want freedom. I want the freedom to express myself. I want the freedom. I don't want to work for a boss. I want to be self-employed. That's really wonderful. But if you're not able to earn a revenue or not be able to sustain yourself in an art as a working artist, there's no freedom. So that freedom will cost something, some kind of structure that you need to put in place, whether that's, making clear goals every morning. What are you going to be doing that day for the week? And we'll look at that towards the end of the session. Planning growth goals for 2021. So that you can grow towards what you really want to do. So that's the whole clue of this training, also about being distracted, is do you have clarity where you want to go? And it's not just something that will happen, it's something that you need to put in place. So whether you make a mood board about where you want to be at the end of next year, or write it down in a journal on a piece of paper, so that you can start envisioning your art success, start envisioning where you want to be. You want to make that body of work. What is it going to look like? How many pieces is that body of work going to have? Where do you want to exhibit? And be specific, be realistic, but be aspirational, so that you can dream. Dreaming is so important in a creative's life. You need to be able to see it. When you see it, then you can start taking steps. You can start reverse engineering that. We all have different characters, different gift settings, different ways of managing our time. You can design your perfect week. What does your week look like? What kind of structure do you have in your week? How many hours can you work in your art? Maybe do you have a day job, or you have part-time work, or of course you have other commitments, family, other activities, that you get clear how much time you can actually allocate towards your creativity. How much time can you put aside to make your art? And then when you do make your art, then you make it count and be clear what you want to do. And your goals need to be specific. So Just not, I'm going to make my art. That's not specific. When you plan your day, what kind of art are you going to make? How far do you want to be? So it's specific and it's time-based. Important when you're designing your week, so that you can measure whether you are realistic or not. So it's good to write them down, especially, and when you get more experience in this, it'll come more naturally because you can sort of intuitively have a realistic idea of how much time something's going to cost you. But when you're starting out, or when this is new for you, then make a note of how long does it take you to set up your palette? How much time does it take to set up a painting? How much time in your genre or in your technique does it take to finish a painting? And be realistic about that, so that you can set realistic goals, so that not continually you're disappointing yourself or you're frustrated because you're not doing what you want to do. You're not achieving what you want to achieve. So it's all about getting really real with yourself, real with your time, with your just how you are, who you are as a person, how you're functioning. You can read all the self-help books and adopt all these great wonderful plans and structures, but you need to have a keen voice to yourself. What do you need? And do your outer goals correlate with your inner needs? Then maybe you are a person that you need more alone time, or maybe you need people around you. What do you need? What will give you energy? What gives you inspiration? Because if you're in an inspired place, you can give other people inspiration through your art and through your communication. So start setting to plan your perfect week. And perfect, I mean, it's like we're not going for perfection. It's about this process that you're in. It's a perfect week for you. You have, in your personality, in your character, in your rhythm, we all are different. So how can you plan a week so that you are being pulled towards your art goals? That's what you're envisioning. What's going to bring you closer? What steps are you going to take to bring you closer to your art goals? What do you need? Take some time to think that through. Just some tips to make your perfect week, or even looking at 2021. What are you going to be doing next year, or even the next few weeks? So that you get real or get clear about the big picture. I really want you to get excited again. Maybe you've dealt with frustration or disappointment, or things haven't turned out. You finished your academy and you've got all the skills, but you're not selling your work. You're not finding traction with your art audience. I just say, put that behind you. Because so much of an artist's success has to do with mindset. And that you get into a place that you start believing in your gifting and getting really real about what you need to add to your gifting, add to your skill set, to bring you closer to that what you dreamed of, maybe as a child or as a young adult, what you saw and envisioned for your art career. Because there's that dreaming side and then there's that practical side, and you can bring those two together. But it starts by seeing that big picture again, envisioning your art career, envisioning your art life. How does that, if you are lacking some kind of inspiration, go and look online. What artists inspire you? Go and look at their feeds, go and look on their websites. What do you want your art career, your art business, your art life to look like? What kind of lifestyle does that entail? What does that look like? What does that freedom that you're looking for look like? Make it really concrete. Do it. Make a Pinterest board or a mood board, or write it in your journal. Start to visualize what you see, and maybe hang a collage up in your studio. So when you're working, you get stuck, you get distracted, you look, no, that's where I'm going, without forcing yourself. It's something that you get excited about. It's your dream. It's personal and it's very you. So get clear about the big picture. And then you start reverse engineering that dream. What steps do you need to take? What plans do you need to make? Do you need to take a course? Do you need to get that website up and running? You need to learn another skill, or maybe hone in some skills to get more um, uh, uh, fluent. I was going to say get more qualified in a certain technique, that you can build your expert status, that you can really find a flow in your creativity. What is it that you need? Or maybe it's the business side of things that you need help in. What steps that you need to take to get to your dream? And maybe that's, you can have extravagant dreams, big outrageous dreams, I call them, the BOGs. In the future, maybe you want to exhibit in a beautiful gallery in a beautiful cities, or maybe set up your own art school, or maybe finish that body of work, or maybe take that step of going out of your day job into full-time artist. Whatever your BOG is, your big outrageous goals, break them down. They're not just going to happen. And what can you do today to bring you closer, to bring traction towards that dream, towards that what you are hoping for, longing for, and not allow those distractions bringing you further away to keep you from that, because that's not going to put you in a happy place. So reverse engineering that dream, breaking it down into smaller manageable steps. As I coach my artists, it's always the overwhelm that seems to just paralyze them. It's like there's so much to do. And I think this is also the day and age, the time we're living in. There is so much possible. There's so much possible that you can do yourself. You used to be able to outsource everything, but now you can make your own website, you can do your own communication, and you have to be your own marketer. You can be your own salesperson. You don't need the galleries. You can do everything online, but that brings a lot of pressure, and that brings a lot of overwhelm. And then the result often of that is that you're paralyzed. You think, I don't know where to start. And sort of this mist sort of comes into your brain and into your heart, and it's like nothing happens. But that you start putting down on paper, what do you actually need, and where can you ask help, and where can you start getting skilled in a certain area. If you don't have the budget to go to a marketing company, or to go to a web designer, you can do things yourself. But they make a planning and be realistic, so it's specific and time-based. How long is that going to take you, and what you need? And then start your week with a clear plan. What I usually do is the day before, when I finished my work, I'm in my studio, or I finished coaching, then at the end of the day, I always look at my schedule for the next day, so that I know before I finish my day what my next day will look like. So if you finish a project, or you finishing for the day, prepare things for the next day, because this will help you build bridges and keep your momentum. But if you're starting off your day and you think, you have to, what am I going to be doing today? Before you get started, that's already, a lot of your day gone. So anticipate your next day. And you can do that too for your week. I do that on Sunday evening. I'm looking at my week. I look at my schedule, what's going to be happening, and so that I have in my mind, okay, this is what my week is going to look like. This is where I anticipate some kind of where things are coming together that I need to plan ahead. This is where I think, okay, then I have a little more time, a little more flexible, so that you can get an idea of what your week is going to be looking like. Do it on paper, on your phone, on your inner scheduler, as long as you can get it out of your head so that you can see it. And then those cheerleaders are so important. I've seen the artists that are successful, artists that I'm coaching to, are artists that are supported, because a lot of what we're doing is alone in our studios, alone in our own worlds. Very often, alone as solo entrepreneurs, we're building a business around our creativity. And when we feel not motivated or discouraged, we need people. So I think it's also good for you to have cheerleaders, whether it's a close friend or someone in your community, or you are working with an art coach. Have someone to help you. You don't need to do it all alone, because we all need encouragement and people around us. So that's something to think of, because someone that you will help you or encourage you. I have artists that I coach, they have someone that they call every Monday. And every Monday they talk to a friend and say, this is what I'm, those are special friends that will take time for you. Maybe you have someone that you know. It's like, I just want to check in with you 10 minutes on the Monday, or I'll send you an app. This is what I'm working on this week. And you may think, well, it's none of their business, but it will help you. There's a little bit of an accountability to yourself. You've got it out of your system. You've put it down on paper. You've set sort of a clear goal for that week, or maybe something that you are, struggling with. Help me, can you just, if I get to the slump, if I get here, just can I phone you, or just let you know that I'm here and I want to get there. I want to press through. Can you just think with me or brainstorm with me, so that you don't have to do it alone? So you need those cheerleaders around you, whatever that looks like for you. And then, because you're working intentionally with the things that you're doing, you're clear about where you want to go, you're reverse engineering those steps, you can revisit your plan and you can say, okay, maybe I was a little bit too overconfident here, or I wasn't realistic in this area. I need to make changes here. I need to redesign or revamp my ideas here. So then you get an idea of how you function and how you work within that structure, so that you can pivot and change, because that's where the growth is. And when you get an understanding and use that to your advantage. Setting up the growth plan for 2021. Hopefully this is helping you guys. I see there's some comments. Thank you for everyone joining in. I see Anya and Wendy and Jan from Almere. Yay, yay, yay. From the Netherlands. Oh, thank you guys for being here. I just wish we could be in a space that could actually see you. But this will have to do. Setting up that growth plan for 2021. One thing I can encourage you to do is get a planner. Now, this is my planner. This is my mock-up. This is something you can buy, the Dutch people, at bol.com or at Amazon or wherever. You start seeing your year as 12 months. You start not only thinking, okay, next week we have Sinterklaas, we have Christmas coming up, just thinking short term. You also want to see your year, to get a visual. We visual creatives, you artists. What is your year going to look like? So that you have a feeling of 365 days. What does that look like in a time span? And what does that look like in months? I've got mine taped to a spray mounted it on a foam board. Otherwise they roll up and it's difficult to use. And these are, you can write on it, cross on it, rub it out if you think, I want to make a plan or I want to do something. And then you start seeing your year in those quarters. So every 3 months, it's the start of a new quarter. So there's 4 quarters in the year. Then you start breaking it down. Fill out the most important dates that are coming. So fill out when it's Mother's Day, or fill out when are there holidays, so that you get an idea of your year. These are important days if you want to make a product, maybe for especially for mothers, or you want to make something special for the summer or for the festive season. Then that's when that is. It's not going to surprise you. Then you have an idea of your year, and you put it up in your studio. You hang it up somewhere so that you get the feel of your year. So I really can recommend to get the whole year. So not just per week or per month, but get the year. And of course, you can use different colors. You can write on it, draw on it, plan on it. So it makes it visual. And you can also see, am I keeping my schedule? And what really helps is when you start seeing your year as a circle. And that circle, let me just put it a little bit bigger. You can see the camera. So this is the year. This is 12 months. And we have 4 quarters. And we put December up there, and we put June here. Every quarter has 3 months. And because you've just looked at your year, you know that there's certain times of the year in your creative process, in the creative calendar, that you need to sort of focus on. So would be around the festive season. December is a busy month, a large revenue month for the creative industry if you're working in products to sell around Thanksgiving, if you're doing art retreats or workshops in the normal world, when we can start doing that again, that would be in the summer months. Then we have January, February, and March. That's the first quarter. That's when things start. People are doing new things. They're starting new projects. What can you do? How can you anticipate with your art, whatever creativity you're doing, whether you're a jewelry designer or whether you're a ceramic artist or maybe you're a fine artist, what can you do in those months towards maybe a certain special date? And then you can get an idea of how you can plan. Maybe you're going to be working on a body of work. So you want to make 25 paintings. How long will it take you to make 25 paintings? So maybe you need 2 months to do that. So in January and February, you are going to be working on those pieces. Then in March, those pieces will be finished. You can communicate on your social channels, on your website that you're busy with it. You can share. You're being very intentional. You could communicate. You're building up your fan base, your followers, that in March you are going to launch that body of work. That's when you're going to make it that it's available for sale. This will only work if you're thinking ahead and not just working one art piece to the next, that you see that it's all interlinked. Your whole year is interlinked. And when it's circular, that after November, there's December, there's January. It doesn't just come to a halt. It's continually moving. And how can you make 2021 really work for you? That you take the next few days or weeks, maybe you have some time off around Christmas, and really sit down. Get the planner, put it on paper. What do you want to do? What do you envision for 2021? And fight those, that doubt or that fear or that horrible inner critic that tells you can't do it, you can't make your art, it's impossible, no one wants to buy art. It's not true. I've had artists that have sold more work in this whole COVID period than ever before. There's a new awareness of online selling. There are so many amazing platforms. There's so many possibilities. Like in my previous teaching, I showed how you can do a virtual exhibition with all the software that's out there. You don't need to even be a computer buff. You can just put in paintings and take people on a virtual tour. And if you can communicate that well with your followers, that they are excited and they're in that journey with you, there's amazing opportunities for you also to sell your art. So to connecting that with your art audience. But there's that art side, but there's also that thinking like a business person. Because if you want to make this a full-time profession, or even a profession that you want to have some kind of revenue stream, it'll take more than just having your art, because that usually just ends up sitting around you in your studio and it's not going anywhere. So it's thinking very intentionally, setting clear goals. And that's my passion, and that's where I love helping artists further, because I've just seen so many creatives just having these aha moments. And I think, oh, it's possible. You have far more control over your own artistic success than you maybe thought. It's not like you're just waiting for luck to strike or just waiting for that person to phone you. There's action that you can take. You can be actively promoting your work. You can make a plan to actively connect, to get the word out there, whatever that looks like, on your website, on your social channels, having your email list, connecting with an art audience, building relationships with people that have influence in the creative sector. These are all steps that you can take. So I'm just wondering if there are questions about this in the group before I continue. Then throw them in the group. I'd love to hear from you. There's a resource distraction into traction worksheet. I think there's about 15 pages of exercises, of tasks that you can do. You can read through the notes again, all about this workshop. So it's for you, there for you to download. Got the URL. That's finding renewed focus to make and sell your art, because that's where it starts. If you got your focus, then you can start setting up a plan to get your art sold. Connecting with an art audience. Let's go to the URL. So it's soniasmallhere.com/hacks. So life hacks to get your get more productive. So that's there for you to download. It's free. You can just fill out your details and I can email that to you. So work through that, get that scheduler, start getting clear about what you want, envisioning, and that's a fun thing. That should be a fun process. Maybe you should make a painting or do some artwork about how you're going to envision your art career, art business, where you want to be at the end of 2021. Start dreaming again. Use that imagination, not only for the negative thoughts, but for positivity, that you can use all your the skills that you have, the talents that you have, the resources that you have, use it for your advantage. So any questions? Ooh, you'll be there in March. Is that for the Working Artist course? That's exciting. Yeah, I've got once a year I open registration for my Working Artist course. This is everything that I've shared today. It's really my heart to bring creatives on that journey to get really clear about their vision, clear about what steps they can take as an artist with their art, what's their art style, who are you as a creative, working from the place of authenticity and then connecting that with an art audience. How can you start reaching, using the online and offline spaces to communicate with your art audience? Where can you find them? How can you market your work? How can you talk about your work? How can you write those words that really encapsulate who are you so that it communicates in a powerful way? How can you use photography, images, photos of your work? What are the right images that you need to use on your website, in your communication? And then how do you set up your website, your social media? How do you work with galleries? How do you start connecting with the press? How can you write a press release or an email? All these tools that you need. It's actually like a whole tool set that you will get in the course for to build your art business, to build some structure around your creativity. So it's not just wishing, hoping, dreaming, praying, but you are taking steps. So it's a 12-week course. We start the 1st of March. It'll be for 12 weeks. It's an interactive course, so it's a community of artists from all over the world. It's really very special and super cool. Different disciplines get together every week for a live Q&A session where you can ask all your questions, where you can interact with other artists, where we have live teaching, we have guest artists joining us, working artists from the field, we have gallerists, we have people that are in the profession, in the art field, joining the course and just sharing their expertise, so that at the end of the 12 weeks, you really have the tools that you need to move forward. So that's the Working Artist course. It is on my website. There's a wait list that you can join, and then I'm sending you regular emails if you're on the wait list about what you can expect. There's some sneak peeks about the training. There's more information. It's all on my website. We'll just put in the URL there. So excited that you will be joining. Just hide that one. Put myself away there. So this is, if you go to my homepage, as I say, I'm an artist, I'm a course creator, and I'm a coach. Also podcasts. If you've listened to my podcast, then regularly I bring out a podcast just with practical information to help you on your artist journey. And my passion is really to help artists develop their skills, their business skills, get really practical and concrete to take steps to build towards your own art success. So if you head to my website at soniasmallhere.com, then you will find the possibilities of going to the podcast. Those are the regular podcasts that you can download. You can go to iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And then there are all kinds of podcasts about social media, how do you use writing an artist statement, the inspiring interviews with artists. If you want to do teaching, how can you set up teaching around your creativity, diversifying your revenue streams, working in a niche, etc., etc., discovering your artistic style. They'll come with worksheets and practical help sheets to so that you can get more clear about what you want and where you want to go. So that's the podcast. Then I am an art coach. These are one-on-one sessions, usually 60-minute sessions that you can join in. If you want to set up your art business, how does that look like? You want to get more eyes on your art, some marketing structure and plans. We talk through that. What trajectory do you need to take you, whether you're starting out or maybe you're an experienced artist, how can you use the online space more effectively? We look at your social profile, we look at your different social platforms that are working for you or maybe not, and how can you tweak that. Look at your artist websites, how can you communicate more clearly, because that really is where the magic is. When you start communicating, when you are clear about where you're going, you can start communicating it more clearly. And when you communicate it more clearly, it'll find resonance with your art audience. And they will hear more clearly and they will respond, and by interacting and then eventually buying from you. So it's all about that clarity and that connecting. And then, so there's a lot possible as far as the coaching is concerned. Feel free to have a look at that on my website. You can also connect with me just to see, just send me an email if that's something that you're looking for. Maybe people are asking, what do you want for Christmas? Maybe say, I want a coaching session. That's possible. They can go to the website and buy you a coaching session. Or maybe you can give that to yourself as a gift. For this year, it's 75 euros. 2021, my prices will be going up by 10 euros. So if you want to make use of that special price still, this year it's still 75 euros. You can do also a trajectory of 10 so that we have regular contact for these sessions and that you can help you through a whole plan of moving yourself, your art, just your dreams, just bring that all together. So you can fill out that form, and then the course, it's the Working Artist course, that starts again. A card will open on the 15th of February. 1st of March, we start group of artists on this 12-week adventure. I see it. Because every week, the artists are all on the same, start at the same point. So module 1, then module 2, every week a new module is released. So everyone is focusing on the same materials. And I coach you through that. And we have the Q&A sessions so that you can hone in on all the different areas. Use the artist. What is your art about? What is your art audience look like? How can you connect with them? How can you use those social channels, your website, etc. But you can join the waitlist. Feel free to join the waitlist. You'll get the information. There is a Q&A right there at the bottom. Here you'll see all the modules that are in the course. There are 10 modules, and it's 12 weeks. We have implementation weeks during the course. So have a look at that. And then at the end, there's a video, the pricing, some testimonials of students that have gone through the Working Artist course. And then there's an FAQ with all the questions that I've got through the year. And you can see if your question's not answered there, then please send me an email. I can be reached. Let's see, I've got it here. There's my email, info@soniasmallhere.com. Okay. I want to see who has any questions. Let me know if there's questions about what I've talked about today. Maybe you have some observations, you have something that you want to share, put in the group. Now is the time to do that. I'm going to check out the comments. Let's see. Any questions? How do I find your art audience? Good question. I think that's something we all are wondering. Where is this mysterious person who's going to buy my art? It's something I really focus on in the course to get really clear about that. And that's different for all of us. If you think you want to reach everyone, you're going to reach absolutely no one. So getting more specific about who would love your art. Where do you see your art hanging? What would be the perfect space for it to hang? What is that person that will get excited about the things that you're making? And that's really personal because it's, all our art is so different. So getting really clear about your art, your style, maybe you work in a certain genre. There's different levels. You can have the low level, you can have low budget products. Maybe you're making reproductions. I know artists, they never sell originals. They are just selling reproductions. They keep all the originals because their strategy is to do everything under 25 euros. So they're just selling reproductions of their work, small scale, and then upscaling, maybe have a reproduction framed. But that's a strategy. It's been something that they've chosen very intentionally. Maybe you want to sell your originals. That's why you're making your art. You want people to experience the beautiful colors and the wonderful techniques that you're using. Maybe you're working on the middle segment. So everything, around 250 euros to 1,000 euros. So it's sort of the middle segment. Who buys art for 250 to 1,000 euros? Where do they buy that? In your genre, so these are all things you need to think about. Or maybe you have really high segment art, so in the highest section of 1,000 to 5,000, 10,000 euros. Where do people buy? What's that journey you need to take your audience through? And selling art is all about trust. It really is a myth and an illusion that if you're going to put your painting of 1,000 euros on your website, and you're just going to sit back and you think, why is no one buying it? It's beautiful. I poured my whole heart into it and no one is responding. Or you put it on Instagram, you've got beautiful photos, but no one is buying. No one is responding. It takes time. People want to understand more about you. They want to feel that they know you. They trust you. Well, transactions, especially when it goes to higher end products, it's all about trust. You want people to have that trust before they pull out their credit card or make some kind of financial commitment. Their hard-earned money they're going to be giving you for something in exchange. And usually it's at a distance, especially in the online space. They need to know that they trust you. And trust comes through communication. Continue communication. So my tip for you, get clear about who you are. What is it that you're making? Put that down on paper. I'm not a visual artist. I'm an artist. I'm a fine artist. No, what makes you different from other artists? Excuse me, not now. What makes you different? What is your unique style? And get clear about that in words and in images, and start communicating that on your website. Start communicating that through your social channels and so that you are clear, so that you can communicate it clearly. And then see who responds to it, who's liking, who's commenting, who's engaging with your posts. Where can you find people? Through using hashtags, through using social posting to bring people onto your website. Who can you follow in that, maybe in that genre? And that's, I don't know, it's difficult for me to know who's out there, who's listening to the teaching. But there comes a time when you need to decide. Many of us have our social channels. We've used them for personal use to connect. That's, also the vision of Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. It's all about connecting. But there comes a time when you're using your arts, you want to turn that creativity or art into a profession. So you need to start thinking like a business. So it's not just connecting with Aunt Sophie, which is great. That's your first circle and they know people. So they'll be your biggest fans. But eventually you want to use your social channels to very intentionally bring people onto your platforms. And there are all kinds of great ways that you can do that. Because there's the front end and then there's the back end. It all has to do with numbers and analytics, looking at, especially if you have an Instagram business account, you have all this analytics. So important to see who is engaging with your content, who, then you can get a better idea of who your art audience is, and start building relationship, which builds trust, which builds a safe place to have a transaction in the future. But it's a long process. It's not just going to happen. And that's what I teach my students to. It's a long-term vision. You're building a sustainable art business, not just for a year, 2 years, for the rest of your life. You need to get those structures in order. You need to understand how things work, how the economics works, how does the business of art work, and then you can start using it to your advantage. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit. There are resources on my website. Have a look, also for connecting with your art audience. I have also a 7-day artist success guide. If you go to my website, it's right at the top. Let's just see if I can get you there. Here on my website, go to the home page, and here it says a new resource, how to get more eyes on your art in 7 days. It's a 7-day challenge. So you get 7 emails from me every day. You'll get an email, and then I'll ask you questions, you do tasks. It's a very intense resource. Of course, you can print it out and do it within the next 7 weeks. But just to give you an idea, to think through how can you start setting systems in place. So that's a good resource for you to look at. Let's see. Okay, I think that's great that you showed up. Thank you. Thank you for being here, for attending the session. If you want to look at it again, it'll be in this group. You can look at the replay. If you're watching the replay and you still have comments or questions, you can DM me in my Instagram or Facebook. Obviously, you can messenger me. This is really what I love to do. So helping you further on your art journey. So there's lots possible. Your creativity is so worth it. Your art is heart. Give it the attention that it needs and deserves. So if you're in a happy place and living the life that you are wanting to live, you're going to be happy and the people around you are going to be smiling. So that's all for this teaching. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you again next time. I'm going to be doing teachings like this more regularly. So you are in the community, you will be, watch the space. And very often I'm in the community asking questions. So feel free to engage. We're there to help each other, encourage each other, and cheer each other on to more artistic success. All right. Have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks again, and I'll see you again in the next session. Bye-bye.